For today's project we're using elements from sub box 7, which is the circle die cutting craft kit. So on the table here I've got my nesting circles in the scalloped and the straight, and I've got my stamps, and I've got the card out ready. I'm using one of the 7x5 cards that actually comes in the kit, and I've already cut myself a piece of the blue card, and this is measuring 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So we're going to stick that on with some all-purpose glue, and we're going to make a slider card here today, but a slider card with a difference, because we're going to use a bobbin, a normal plastic bobbin here that you would use in your sewing machine. We're going to use that to actually house the element that's going to slide around on the card. So just stuck that on there all nicely, so that can just set aside to dry. And then I've got some watercolour cardstock here, and this is measuring 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. So let me pop that to one side. And then I've got a little scrap of watercolour card here, so we can start stamping on some of our elements to make up our card, because there's beautiful stamps in the kit here. So to start with, I'm going to take this lovely sort of floral flourish here. I'm going to take that to start with, and I'm going to have that, I think, coming down there. So with your stamps, I'm just popping them onto the rocker block. You can sort of manoeuvre them a little bit, okay. And I'm using the Finesse ink pad here, and I'm using the waterproof one, and I've got Pebble, because I'm going to actually use my Spectrum Noir aqua markers. Some of them you had in the last sub box. I'm going to use those to actually colour in my stamps. So to start with, let's lots of light little tapping. We're going to create an image on here. Okay, so I'm going to bring this one, so just going to move those to one side. So I'm just going to create an image on my card. So put the first one down, and see how nice and clear the stamps do stamp out. They're just lovely. But there's lots of stamps in this kit, and you know, there's lots of beautiful papers as well, but I just thought for this project I'm going to use the stamps. So stamp that one as well. So we're starting to build up our scene here. I'm going to put my sentiment on. I'm going to have a happy birthday for this one. So let's get the happy birthday. This is going to go right into the middle. So just laying that on my stamps platform there, on my rocker block across the middle. So again, I'm going to go in with the watercolour stamp, and I'm going to stamp that down on there. And then I'm going to pick some of the other words up here. You know, this is where you can really have fun with what you've got here. You know, just I've got here love always. Let's have that on there as well. Have that one down the bottom here. And I think I'm going to put, there's one that says just for you. I think that's on here, which we'll have on that top corner. So I'm just building a composition up of the stamps that you've got in the kit. Now you will also notice with your stamps, when you got them, that you've got a couple of the little, if I put them here on the desk, a couple of the little buds that go on with this, and you can quite easily add these to make your sort of branch of flowers if you like, a little larger. So let's go around here. Let's pop another one on there, you see. So you can just start building up the composition that you've got. So here's a little bud, so we can add another little bud over on this side. Okay, so I'll build all that up. I'm going to jump ahead so we can start colouring in. So, oh, what I have forgotten to do is my butterflies, because these are going to be the main feature of the slider card. So I'm going to have the butterfly going around in a circle. So I've got that little scrap of watercolour card. I'm using the big butterfly. So again, lots of little taps, and for this I'm actually going to stamp it out twice, because I'm going to double layer this as it's the main feature of the card. Okay, so that's now stamped out nicely. So let's start colouring in now. So I've used my watercolour stamp, so I can then go ahead and use my watercolour aqua markers. So I've got some selection of aqua markers here. Obviously, from having the first box, you've had a little taster of the aqua markers, and then it means you can go on and buy some more if you wish. I've got a round paintbrush here. Let me just get a piece of kitchen paper as well. So just get a piece of kitchen paper, because that's always handy just to wipe off the excess water. Now I'm using a round brush here, okay, to do my colouring. So let's start colouring this in. Now I've got here moss green, so I've got a glass mat, so I can bring in my brush, take off the water so it's damp but not wet, pick up my colour, and then start colouring in my image. Now I find watercolouring like this very relaxing and very therapeutic, and I think a lot of you will agree. And if you haven't had a go with the aqua markers, do give them a go. I know if you've been having the sub boxes, you would have had them in the last sub box, and there's just lots of techniques and things you can do with them, but they're also great for colouring in. So here I'm just picking up like round the edge of this blossom here, the parts that would be green. So just have a little sort of go with it, because if you haven't had a go at colouring, it's a great place to start. Okay, and then to do my blossom, I'm going to use tulip. Oh, don't need the fine end, I need the fat end. So again, I'm going to pop some onto my desk or onto my glass mat. I've got it quite wet this time, and I'm just wetting that flower first with some water, and then pick up the colour and go from the middle, and then I get a nice soft blossom look. So again, going in with lots of water, and then picking up the colour right in the centre and just dragging that out. Okay, so that's as easy as it is. You know, don't have to be too complicated at all with the colouring. The most important thing is to enjoy it. This is what crafting's all about, is enjoying it and having a go. So again, I'm picking that darker colour up, and then with some water I can drag that round. And then on the buds here, I'm just picking it up quite dilute, just to have that there. And don't be afraid to move your paper around, you know, your card around, so it's in a position that suits you. That is the most important thing as well. Be comfortable with how you're colouring in, and soon your image as you can see, takes its shape and its colour. And then if I'm going to pop a little bit more of the pink on my mat, picking it up quite neat, and I'm just going right in the centre there to highlight the centre of those flowers. Okay, now you could use any colouring medium you like at all, any that you've got. You could use your alcohol pens, you could use your colour blend pencils, you know, you could go in with your aqua pencils, you could go in with your sparkle pens. So, you know, the choice is yours. So the great thing about the sub boxes is that you have an opportunity to try some different things out. And the technique with this one is these beautiful nesting dies. So I've just gone on neat with this bit here and dragged the colour out. So I'm going to move on again from this to one that I've already got coloured in. Okay, I've done my butterflies as well. So again, I've used the colours that I've got here to do my butterflies. So let me show you what I did with my butterflies. So for these, I had to have a bit of purple, didn't I? And again, we're going to have hot pink this time. So I've got two quite strong colours. Is this going to be sort of the main event for the card? So let's go in with the hot pink to start. I'm not being too precious about it. Don't worry about being too precious about it. As I said, you know, you can spend hours colouring in, but you don't need to at all. So just picking that up. And we're going to cut these butterflies out. So don't worry if you've gone over the edges, because we're going to cut them out. So I'm just bringing that in, bring a little bit into the main body there, wipe that off, pick the pink up again, and just blend those colours together. And then if you want to pick up a little bit more purple, if you think you've lost the purple down the bottom here, you know, have fun. I've gone over the edge. I'm not worried about going over the edge because I'm going to cut these out. So let me show you what I've done with the butterflies. So as I said to you, I've done two. And I've cut them out, and I've even cut with the little antennae here at the top, and then I've just shaped them. While this cardstock is still damp, if you shape it, it will hold its shape as it dries. Now, using the smallest circle, which is that one there, I then die cut myself a little disc. And I've actually glued these onto my disc with the 3D glue gel. Okay, so that's ready to go. So now that needs to be stuck onto my bobbin, my plastic bobbin. So to stick that on, I'm going to go in with some tacky glue. Okay, so I'm going to attach some glue just to the top of there, because this is going to stick my disc on. And I've got my disc with my butterfly, because it fits perfectly really on that bobbin. You couldn't have a better fit if you tried. So that smaller circle die is perfect. So that's on there, so we can leave that just to dry. And then let's bring our card in and start looking at how we're going to die cut the elements to make the slider. So let me move all this out of the way. So I've got my finished coloured in card, and you're probably thinking, well, it does look slightly different, Dawn, what have you done? So what I've done to darken it off, because that's showing it as white, but I thought it looked a bit too bright. So what I've done is I've gone in with my Harmony inks, and I've used Sandstorm just to ink over the top, just to take some of that colour off. So let me show you how I did it. So all I've done is pop a little bit on my mat, got my blending tool, I've just picked that up and then I've just gone over the top. If you do this once your watercolouring is dry, it will give you a lovely sort of aged look. Okay, and all I've done is do that all the way over and concentrating a bit more around the edge to make it darker. You can always add more onto your mats, not a problem at all. Okay, but it just takes it off, that white off, so it looks a bit more aged and sort of vintage looking. Okay, and that's what I've done all the way over on this one. So let me just wipe that up off there. So we've got our card all finished, got our butterfly ready being stuck down. Now the card itself I've matted onto a tiny piece of, or onto a piece of brown card, and I've just gone 1/8 of an inch around the edge as well. So if you bring your main card in, personally I think it just gives it a little bit more of a frame. So that's why I've just put that bit of brown around the edge. That's from my Crafty Stash, that bit of brown card. So now we need to pick our shapes or our dies to actually have our butterfly going around on. So what I'm doing is I'm laying these on. Now don't worry that you're die cutting over your card, because this is going to give the illusion of, say, an eclipse card, which many of you may have seen. So let me bring my Gemini plates in. Going to be using the Gemini Junior today to die cut this because it's too wide for my go. So just position your dies with the same sort of gap all the way around. Oh, and I would definitely tape in place with a piece of repositionable tape, because we don't want these to move. Once it's where it's going to be, it's not going to be moving anywhere. So in place there, and then a normal sandwich, plastic shim, magnetic shim and cutting plate, and pass that through the machine. Right, that's been through my Gemini, so let's have a little look. And that's cut quite nicely through the 2 layers, and then just gently take off the repositionable tape. You don't want to damage all your beautiful colouring in that you've been doing. So just carefully taking that off. And we're going to keep these because this is going to be our centerpiece, and I'm going to try and glue that in to the back as well. So let's just bring our main card in. So that is our main card there. This is the piece that the butterfly is going to go round on, and I'm wondering if I can pop that in at the back so it gives the illusion of the eclipse card. I'm going to try and do it. So to put this together, you're going to need either some silicone 3D, or I'm just going to use some foam pads here for this one. Now when you're putting your foam pads, you need to be aware that your bobbin needs to be able to move freely around the edge. Okay, so let's pop some of these on. I've got some nice big ones here. So this is one of those special cards that, you know, people are going to be having out for a while, and they just give so much fun. These are great for children as well. Children love cards like this, but I think it's nice for adults too. So big foam pads just round the edge, and I'm just looking to make sure I'm going to get enough movement there, which I may well do just to pop. That's a bit too big there, so let's go on with a smaller one. Oh, these are little ones, so let's use these will be fine. So let's pop a few of these on, because you don't want your bobbin to interfere with where you're putting your 3D pads. And if you're using silicone gel, your 3D glue gel as well, just be mindful of where you're popping it, because it would be a shame to get this far and then realise that it's not going to work because you've stuck it in the wrong place. So let's put a few on here. You might think I'm putting too many on here, but I'd rather have too many and have it sitting nicely. See, that's going to be too much there, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim these in half and just put a couple right down on the bottom there as well. Okay, so make sure you've got your card the right way, of course, and then we can take all these off. So just taking these off. If you want quick results, the foam pad's absolutely great because you don't have to wait for them to dry like the 3D glue gel. I personally like to use both. I think 3D glue gel definitely has its place, and I do like to use it as well. But for this instance, and to show you exactly what I'm doing, I'm thinking the pads work quite nicely. Nice thing about the Crafters Companion pads is they come in several different sizes as well. You've got the nice big ones, there's square ones, you know, you've got quite a selection to actually choose from. Okay, which is great. Let's get all these off. So the next thing I'm going to do is to stick my card the right way around on top. So just taking your time to lay it down, because once it's down, it's down. So there we go, that's in place. So if I pop my bobbin in, I can see it can move quite freely. Okay, I'm going to stick my back of my card back in, because I think that will give it a nice little like an eclipse. It gives it a little bit more of a feature. So I'm actually going to stick mine back in. So I'm going to use a bit of tacky for this because I want a quick grab so I can move on to the next stage. And like an eclipse card, you just need to match it up. You've got the lovely faux stitching with these dies around the edge. So just sticking that round so that all marries up, which looks lovely. And then we've got our last piece that's going to go on here. So we need foam pads on here, and I think this is going to be a bit too big, so let's go for 4 of these together. So 1, 2, I could have used a big square one. I've got these to hand, so they should be fine. And just to check again that everything can move freely, which it can. Okay, and that's going to go in just there. So I'm just making sure everything's fitting, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to double layer these foam pads to give a bit of height. Now if you're doing this to post, the bobbin perhaps might not be the best idea. You can always make your envelope a 3D envelope with using your Envelobox, so you could quite easily do that, so that is not a problem. Or you could use 2 coins put together with a little spacer in the middle. But I think the bobbin idea is quite nice because you haven't got to second guess it. It's going to work and you haven't got to think about your spacing in between. So let's just take the backing off here so we can stick this in place. So last one. These sticky pads are really super sticky, I will tell you. Right, so getting that in the position where we're going to have it. Before you stick it in position, remember you need to have your butterfly in situ, and then carefully matching up like an eclipse card, and then you can see how it will just run around. And it's quite nice being a butterfly, it's just going around quite nicely. Okay, let me pick his little antennae out here. So that is your slider card. It's just so much fun, isn't it? And it's the way it just spins, it's just lovely. And I think just to finish that off out the kit, we've got some beautiful pearls in here. So let me find my pearls. I'm not going to put any ribbon on here because the main star is, of course, this beautiful butterfly. So I'm just going to pop a couple of little pearls on to finish the card off, because I think that just finishes it off nicely. The nice thing about the pearls in the kit, again, you've got several different sizes. So let's go, we put in a big one, a medium, and I'm using the same sort of blush sand colour. I'm picking up the butterfly there and the background that we inked with, and I'm going to pop 3 down the bottom here as well. So that is your slider card all finished with your sub box 7. I hope you've enjoyed the project. I must say I've thoroughly enjoyed the project. I'm just trying to pick up my last little pearl here. Just finishes that off with 3. Move all those out the way. So I've used the 2 circle nesting dies, and that's made our circle slider card.